The first birthday message arrives at 12:03 a.m. It is automated, a brand offering 20% off. The second comes from a bank. By morning, there are 3 real messages, 2 from people who remembered because an app reminded them. The person reads each one, puts the phone face down, and tells themselves the same thing they say every year. It is just another day. No party, no dinner reservation, no cake in the office. When someone asks what they are doing tonight, they shrug. Nothing. I don't really celebrate. The answer sounds calm, almost mature, but throughout the day they notice every silence. The sibling who is not called, the friend who used to remember, the person they hoped would send something personal instead of HBD. They insist the day means nothing while quietly collecting evidence that it does. That is the contradiction hidden inside people who do not celebrate their birthdays. Sometimes they truly do not care. Sometimes they care so much that indifference became the safest way to survive the day. Why would someone refuse the one day designed to place them at the center? Why can attention feel comforting to one person and almost unbearable to another? And why do some people cancel the celebration before anyone else gets the chance to disappoint them? For 24 hours, the person is invited to measure how visible they are in other people's lives. The day turns affection into something countable. That is what makes it dangerous. On an ordinary Tuesday, silence means almost nothing. On a birthday, silence can feel like a verdict. This is the central metaphor. A birthday can become an annual exam on personal significance. No one officially announces the test, yet the person begins counting. Messages become points, calls become proof, effort becomes evidence. The person may hate this system and still feel trapped inside it. So some choose the only protection that seems available. They refuse to take the exam. I don't celebrate. I hate birthdays. It's childish. I'm too busy. If the day is declared meaningless in advance, the result cannot officially hurt them. This pattern often begins with one birthday that mattered too much. A child spends the week imagining the party. They help choose the cake. They talk about who will come. Then the afternoon arrives, and several chairs remain empty. Maybe friends cancel. Maybe a parent is distracted. The child smiles for the picture because everyone is watching. But the nervous system records something else. Anticipation creates exposure. Wanting makes disappointment visible. The parent who often forgets. The friend group that celebrates everyone else more loudly. The partner who treats planning as an obligation. Each year becomes another comparison between what the day was supposed to mean and what actually happened. Eventually, the person changes strategy. The event is an approaching birthday. The past experiences disappointment, embarrassment, or being overlooked. The internal belief becomes, if I expect to be celebrated, I may discover that I am not important enough. The protective reaction is to lower the meaning of the day. The external behavior is indifference. People call it maturity. Sometimes it is preemptive abandonment. The person leaves their own birthday before anyone else can fail to arrive. This is why the phrase, "I don't care," can contain so much attention. They may not organize anything, but they remember who contacted them. The contradiction is not manipulation. It is a conflict between two needs. One part wants to be chosen without having to ask. Another part believes asking would make the affection less real. So the person stays silent and waits for spontaneous proof. The person receives exactly what they requested and experiences it as confirmation of what they feared. The defense creates the outcome it was designed to prevent. But disappointment is not the only reason people ignore birthdays. For some, attention itself feels unsafe. A birthday concentrates social focus onto one person. The person becomes responsible for performing the correct amount of happiness. Even a surprise party can feel like being ambushed by affection. The room is loving, yet the nervous system experiences exposure. These people may prefer giving attention to receiving it. They can plan elaborate celebrations for others because the role is clear. Notice, organize, provide. On their own birthday, the role reverses. They must receive without controlling what arrives. Receiving creates vulnerability because it removes the usual shield of usefulness. The person cannot earn the moment by solving a problem. They simply have to exist while other people decide what that existence means to them. For someone whose self-worth is tied to competence, that can feel strangely uncomfortable. There is also the person whose birthday was never fully theirs. The celebration became an inconvenience adults had to manage. The child learned to minimize needs. I don't need anything. We can do it later. It's okay. These sentences may have protected the family from pressure, but they also shaped identity. The person became easy to care for by requiring almost nothing. In adulthood, a birthday request can feel like violating that role, so they remove themselves from the equation. They tell everyone not to bother, then quietly wonder what it would feel like if someone bothered anyway. And here is the thought that changes the entire picture. Refusing to celebrate a birthday is not always evidence that someone has moved beyond external validation. Sometimes it means external validation still carries so much power that the person cannot safely approach it. It needs the day to be meaningless because meaning would expose a need. The behavior looks identical. The internal code is opposite. One feels complete without attention. Another has learned to call deprivation independence. This does not mean everyone who ignores birthdays is secretly wounded. Some people truly experience time differently. They do not attach emotional meaning to calendar rituals. The idea that one date should carry more value than another feels artificial. For them, a large celebration may create a performance without a personal reason behind it. Others become less interested in birthdays as they age because the day begins to measure loss as much as life. Childhood birthdays point forward. Each year unlocks something: more freedom, a new grade, a later bedtime, the right to drive, vote, leave home. Adult birthdays often point backward. They create comparison with imagined timelines. The candles become markers on a road whose length is unknown. The person may say birthdays are pointless, when what they mean is that birthdays have become too accurate. They interrupt daily momentum and force a confrontation with time. On ordinary days, life can remain unfinished without judgment. A birthday creates a checkpoint. The person compares the current self with the person they expected to become. The celebration may feel dishonest if the distance is painful. The problem is not the party. The problem is being asked to celebrate a life they are privately auditing. Modern social media intensifies this pressure. Birthdays are no longer only private rituals. They become visible rankings. The platform presents affection as a feed. People can compare not only whether they were remembered, but how dramatically. The person who claims not to care may avoid posting their birthday because they do not want the comparison displayed. If the date remains invisible, the silence can be explained. Maybe people did not know. That uncertainty protects self-esteem. There is another reason birthdays can become emotionally flat: chronic responsibility. Some people spend so much of life responding to immediate demands that symbolic days lose their signal. The birthday enters a calendar already crowded with obligations. By the time the person notices, half the day is gone. This may look like independence, but sometimes it reflects a life in which the self has been consistently placed last. The day is not rejected, it is absorbed. The person has become so accustomed to functioning that celebration feels inefficient. Even their own birthday has to wait until everything important is finished, and everything important is never finished. Yet the deepest conflict often appears in relationships. A partner asks, "What do you want to do for your birthday?" The person says, "Nothing." The partner believes them. Later, the evening feels painfully ordinary. Both are telling the truth. The spoken request was for nothing. The hidden wish was to be known well enough that nothing would not be accepted. But love cannot always pass tests that were never announced. The birthday becomes a stage where unspoken needs compete with literal communication. The result feels like neglect to one side and unfairness to the other. Return to the phone from the beginning. The automated discount arrived at 12:03. The bank sent a greeting. 3 real messages followed. The person said it was just another day, but they kept checking. They wanted one message that proved someone had been thinking about them before the screen issued a reminder. They wanted effort that could not be explained by an algorithm. By evening, the sibling finally calls. "Sorry, today got away from me." The person laughs and says, "Seriously, it's fine. I don't celebrate anyway." The sentence protects everyone in the conversation. The ritual ends exactly as it began, with the appearance of not caring. But now that indifference looks different. It may be peace. It may be exhaustion. It may be maturity. Or it may be an old form of emotional insurance, renewed once a year. The person does not cancel the birthday because the day has no meaning. Sometimes they cancel it because the day asks a question they do not want answered. If I stop reminding people that I matter, who will remember on their own?